Hi, everyone. This is the Lies We Love podcast. I'm Erin. I'm here with my two sisters, Rachel and Ashley. Today, we're having a fun little episode. We're going to be asking each other questions. You might be asking yourself, where is Brooke? Well, Brooke is sick. She is not with us today.
Get well soon, Brooke.
Yes, get well soon, Brooke. We miss you. We plan on doing this episode again so that we can have all four sisters, but we are going to be asking each other some questions. We do not know each other's questions. We didn't even have a rule for the questions. So we might be asking each other some personal questions. We really don't know. I think we did say that we're not supposed to ask any funny questions. These are supposed to be real serious conversation questions. Did you, Ashley, did you come up with funny questions?
No.
Okay.
No questions will be judged.
No questions will be judged by anyone but me. So I don't think we're going to be saying anything that has to have this type of warning, but we're not professionals. We are just three sisters right now who are talking to each other and don't take anything we say like we're professionals. If you're working with a professional, go consult them. And if you aren't, we advise you to. Anyway, so here we go. Who wants to start off our first question? Baby sister Ashley, why don't you start?
Oh man, I didn't want to start. Rachel, you go first.
You had your mouth open the biggest out of all of us. You look like you wanted to start.
That's what she
said. Oh my God. No, not appropriate. Definitely not appropriate for him. You really want me to start?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to start with Ashley.
Exactly. Yes.
And Erin, you promised not to judge. So here we go. I have been wanting to ask you this question for a long time, but I keep forgetting every time I think to ask you this question. So this is just like a silly question that I've always wanted to ask you. So you did swimming for what? I don't know, 3 years out of high school? You did swimming 3 years out of high school.
Yes.
Like in high school.
I know what stroke was hardest for Erin. I know what stroke was hardest for... Yeah, I want to know what stroke was the hardest for you to master.
That's the question you have for her?
You said no judging.
I said but me.
No, you said you're not going to judge. And I've wanted to ask you that question for the longest time and I kept forgetting. So tell me what stroke was the hardest for you.
Okay, but you changed it. So the hardest to master or just the hardest?
Isn't that the same?
No, because there's one that continued to be hard.
Okay, we'll do both.
That I never mastered.
Do both then.
But then that's the same thing.
I never mastered backstroke.
I hate backstroke.
I hate backstroke, dude. I absolutely hate it.
Why?
I've just always hated it. I don't like...
It's terrible.
You like to see where you're going before you get there, don't you?
Of course. I was just never good at it. The hardest one for me to master was butterfly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Butterfly.
Yep.
Okay. See, I didn't know that, and I've always wanted to know that.
So what was your best stroke?
Probably breaststroke and freestyle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I was the best at breaststroke, and then butterfly.
What was the hardest one for you?
Backstroke.
Still? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't like backstroke.
I don't feel like I'm going anywhere when I do backstroke. Like, I feel like I'm just kind of
looking up.
The flags never felt like they were getting closer.
That's funny. Okay.
All right. Ashley, you want to ask your question next?
Okay, Rachel, I'll ask you yours.
Okay. You're laughing before you ask this.
Y'all, I have serious questions.
Well, it's not.
I feel like
it's not a funny question.
I feel like we need a funny episode anyway. All of our episodes are so content heavy and
So
I feel like we need a pick-me-up.
It's not that this is a funny question. It's just I feel like you're going to give me a look as soon as I ask you it.
Oh.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
What defines art?
What the hell? Y'all, I'm asking a lot of serious questions and this is the bullshit y'all come up with? God dang.
I do have I do have serious questions.
Oh my God.
Rachel, what defines art?
What kind of a question is that?
God dang.
Like, see, because you're asking a novice artist to define art.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. That's why I asked you.
It's doing whatever makes you feel like you're contributing something and creating something. So, sidebar, I was watching a documentary on landscape artists, and I'm not kidding. Oh, Erin, you're going to get so angry at me after this. There was, no kidding, an artist that his entry was he did a landscape design on canvas. I could talk about art for a while. This could get long-winded, but he did his whole art that he submitted for the prize on different shades of brown that he found from cows. Cow patties.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So he used different shades of cow patty colors to make his art on his canvas, and that was his submission.
the reason why I'm asking you what defines art is because I went to the Blanton Museum 2 times, unfortunately.
How old were you, though?
I was
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
I
You weren't old
still
enough to
hated it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't old enough. I'm still not old enough, quote unquote, to appreciate literally just someone getting a brush and just,
That's
drawing.
I don't believe that. I think that's
No.
because you haven't been face to face with a Da Vinci or a Monet. If you had been
Yeah,
face to
see,
face,
that's art. But the
Okay.
crap I see now does
Abstract. You don't like abstract.
No, it's not. Abstract is another word for stupid. Like, it's just
All
not-
right. All right.
But see, it's not to the person
Pointless.
but it's not to the person that created it. To the person that created it, they started with a blank canvas and they had an idea and they projected that idea to canvas. And so it's very deep and it's very personal. It's very intimate. So you can't judge it that way. That's my answer.
All right, Erin.
Well, y'all, I asked serious questions, so
That
here we
is
go.
a serious
That's
art
not, no.
is deeply
Okay.
serious.
Ashley, this is a 2-part question.
All right.
Oh, Jesus.
So why did you keep the secret of being molested for so long? From when you found out and when you had the memory in 2016. Like, why did you keep it from us for so long?
Didn't I kind of already answer that?
Well,
Maybe I didn't answer it directly.
Well, I remember you saying that, and you've said this, that you just kind of pushed it to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what made you do that?
I mean, I would say the first piece of that is that it freaked me out having that flashback come up as quickly as it did.
Because I will say, that came after Robert had died, right? Or before?
It was before.
It was before. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to believe that was what in fact happened. And whenever I even told Colin about it, I told him the same thing, that I basically wasn't even sure if it was real or not. So it was 100% denial on my end, and so there was no need to bring that up because in my mind I had already decided that it wasn't real.
Okay. Were there ever, so this is the second part to that question, were there ever times you wanted to talk about it?
That is a hard question. I don't quite remember. I'm sure there were maybe moments when it came up. There definitely were moments when it came up in my head and I wanted to process it and didn't know how to process it. I don't know that I wanted to talk to a bunch of people about it, though.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sense of why I got freaked out, initially.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Rachel, I'm asking my question to you.
Okay.
How has the way you were raised and treated as a child affected the way you parent today?
Hasn't. No. Say it again.
How has the way you were raised and treated as a child affected the way you parent today? Like, it could be positive ways, it could be negative ways.
That is a really hard question. I guess it's been kind of instrumental in a way, in a sense of, I remember what I was taught. I remember the things that I do remember. I note those, and I do the exact and complete and utter opposite.
Yeah.
You know, I know what I feel about certain things, like, I don't know, like just things that pertain to what I was taught as a girl, and I note those in the back of my mind, and I do the absolute opposite with my daughter, kind of a thing. And it's not a moment of resentment or hate whenever I note that. There's just very much this, well, on this subject, what was I taught, you know? And then you note that, okay, so here is what I'm going to instruct Mallory with, or here's how I'm going to advise, you know, my daughter, because we're going to do something completely different and completely opposite.
Yeah.
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 Rachel, how about you ask Erin one of yours?
Okay. If you could go back in time and tell a couple of things to your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
A couple of things.
Like a little girl, Erin.
I can't say what I just said.
Violence. No.
That's pretty bad when I say I can't say it. Okay. Oh, I hate questions like this because it's like, man, you're only giving me two options.
No,
Or two
I said
things.
a couple. That's why I said a couple.
A couple is two. Couple.
Well, a couple is more than one. That's how I see it.
No, a couple's two. A couple, a pair. Okay, so Ashley, in this scenario, Ashley would have already been born. And I would have maybe told myself everything that has happened. And maybe not Ashley would have already been born. I don't know. I would have said exactly what to her, exactly word from word, every single memory that I have of being molested, and evidence of Ashley being molested. And I'd be like, this is the steps that you're going to take for CPS. And you're going to do X, Y, and Z. You're going to, like, I would have laid out everything for her. And I would have said, this is important that you do this because your little sister will be saved from this.
Oh.
And I would tell her to not be scared because this is going to protect other people.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd be like, and also if you, during certain times of the day, have a camera. I know this is so bad, but I would say have one of those Kodak flashing camera, you know, the snap pictures. Open that fucking door and you start taking pictures. And then you run like hell. You call the cops and you don't let anyone catch you. And then you give them this camera. And then there's that. Also, you're awesome. So,
Yeah.
there you go. Ashley's like, oh man, this is depressing.
Damn.
Well,
And then I would have said probably don't listen to anything that your parents have to say. Don't listen to anything that any of these certain adults have to say. And you have every single right to fight back, to defend yourself, to defend others, and you just
Yeah.
make a hell of a mess.
yeah.
You be okay making a hell of a mess.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really hard to ask questions like that. Like, you know, if you could go back in time and say or do something differently, those questions are always really challenging because you may know the answers now about what you would say or do back then, but would you be in the same place if those circumstances had changed?
I'm like fully
would we be making this podcast?
well, probably not, but I mean, I don't know. At least that's, I don't know. I see a movie in our future. No, I'm just joking.
Not mine.
Like Inception or something. I don't know.
No, it's I've thought about it. I've asked myself that question. And
It will never happen. So
no, but it's kind of healing to like tell yourself, you know, you came out on the other side and you know, you're a badass for that.
isn't that funny that I would like choose to like equip her with like this whole plan of action and be like, no, this is exactly, I feel like she would listen to me. Like the younger,
She had nobody else to listen to.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I would probably hug her really tightly and I would tell her she's so beautiful and I believe in her. And I said, this is something that's so important that you're going to have to do. And I'm sorry I have to ask you to do this, but trust me, you're going to thank us. You're going to thank yourself later for this.
Yeah. Just tools. Just tools and support.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What about you, Ashley?
Hold on. Okay, hold on. You haven't asked me a question. Hold on.
I guess I haven't. Yeah.
But yeah, so then that will complete our round,
Okay.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll still have two more questions. to
I've
ask.
asked
Yeah.
Erin 2 questions.
No, you've asked me one
Yeah,
question.
you've asked her one.
Oh, you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, so Erin, my question to you is: at what point are we good enough?
Huh?
When are we self? Hold on, just listen. At what point are we good enough? When are we self-improved enough to accept ourselves?
Is this like a poem that you like read and you're like, I'm gonna
Erin, describe the meaning of life.
No, I'm asking you. At what point are we good enough?
I'm trying
And
to
when
figure
are
that
we-
out for myself.
And when are we self-improved enough to accept ourselves?
I feel like you're
More so you.
yeah. I see your hidden question or your hidden well, Ashley, that is something that that well, obviously I struggle with because I feel like nothing is ever good enough. Like I feel like I could be saving thousands of children from starvation. I could be saving thousands of children from domestic violence, abusive situations, but that's like not enough. I think of like Schindler's List whenever him and his wife are leaving and then he's like, I could have sold this car and it would have saved another person, like that's I think I struggle with that. I feel like nothing is ever good enough.
But does that make you not good enough?
Yes, it does. Yeah. I mean, in my head, I think I'm not good enough because nothing I can ever do is good enough. I'm not saying that's right, but that's what I think.
What are you doing to address that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm reading that Codependent No More, and I'm really discovering that the majority of my behaviors are because of codependency. Like I was conditioned and trained to be a codependent. And so, yeah, I'm reading right now, and I'm definitely working on that because I think that that's a big source of my anxiety, especially for like my job with CPS. And that's why I'm taking a break is I feel like nothing I do will ever be good enough because you have an attorney or several attorneys that are really good and they're doing their job and they can find every little mistake that you've made. And then you have, you know, all these other entities and all that other stuff. And it just feels like it's never going to be good enough. And so I'm working on that. I'm working on it. And I don't want to live like that. I definitely don't want to because it's I get a lot of anxiety from it. Restlessness. It's just not a good way of living. It really isn't.
Well, and it's like you lose happiness.
You have
like,
no happiness.
like
you have no happiness in the moment. There's no present.
You either lose happiness or you don't have it at all. Being in that place where you feel like you're just not good enough or self-improved enough.
Oh yeah. No, there is no living in the present when you believe that.
What about you, Rachel?
Is that your question to her?
No.
Oh.
I thought she'd like the answer.
Read it again.
At what point are we good enough?
Will it ever be good enough?
When are we
blah, blah, blah.
self-improved enough to accept ourselves?
For me, that's just an individual thing. Like, yeah, for me, that's an individual thing. For me, that means knowing my limits. And maybe I clean the kitchen, but I don't clean the rest of the house. And that's just the way it's going to be for today. And that's good enough. It's not perfect. It's good enough kind of a thing. It could be different things for different people. It doesn't mean necessarily, I think for me, it just means because of where I am in life right now, it means having that list, but you don't have to have everything checked off the list. Sometimes it means humbling myself and asking for help to help get things checked off that list. And just kind of not lowering my standards, but just being okay with okay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next asking?
I'll ask Rachel a question. Okay. All right, so I've joked with you about you not letting us sisters know about when you go through things.
Yes.
And like things that are happening to you, but okay, so in all seriousness, I have a question. Do you think you do that because either you don't want us in your business, you don't want people in your business, or do you do it because of how you like the hiding in the closet, like just withdrawing from people? Like, do you open up to your friends? Is it just us sisters? Or
I feel like you take this really personally.
No, I'm really wanting to know.
It's honestly, truly, honestly, it's a personality thing. Like,
so, but do you think that is because of how you were brought up? Like, is it really a personality thing, or is it like just how you were? Like, you didn't have
it probably had a lot to do with how I was brought up, because nobody was safe.
Okay.
And nobody was trustworthy. So I will say I don't have a lot of friends. I don't. You guys I'm closest to you guys, and my other friend that you guys have all met. Those are my closest friends. And believe it or not, I'm very open and honest with you guys. When I have those seasons when I pull back, When I go through hard times for me personally, this feels very exposing. When I go through hard times personally, I very much retreat and I go inward. I don't know what it is, but that's just the way it is for me. And I think I've talked about it in the past. Like, you can tell in my face there's something wrong, but I'm not going to talk about it, and I'm not going to give, verbal clues or anything like that you'll be able to tell in the way I act. I just retreat. I just check out. And I'm not saying that's the most healthy thing, but that's the way that my personality deals with stress and deals with complications, is I very much turn inward, and I revert to thinking. I already think a lot as a person. I think, and I just do it a lot. But when I get really stressed and I get in challenging situations, I really go back to that. And I guess it's just a personality thing. I don't know.
So in those moments, would you like it if people were like, hey, thinking about you today, hopefully you're doing okay, or something like that? Or do you want like complete like radio silence? Or do you not care?
I mean, I do care. I'm just so I'm just lost in thought.
Yeah.
And it's just really hard to break that thinking cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's nothing personal. It really truly isn't.
I didn't think it was.
Oh, okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask this question.
Yeah, it very much.
I'm going to dig.
Yeah, I very much believe in the Enneagram, and I'm very much a 5. And so 5s tend to be very private and tend to be just very thought driven, not because they're intelligent or necessarily anything like that, but they just like to think about things and they analyze things. And unfortunately, that's the way I am with a lot. I'm primarily a 5, and that's, yeah.
You want to ask her Ashley something?
I want to know different things that bring you joy in life.
Nothing. No, I'm just kidding.
Everything is meaningless.
Different things that bring me joy. I would say my family.
Mm-hmm.
I have mixed feelings about them. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, definitely my family, nature, my horse buddy, my animals, my house. And then I kind of dive into like basic necessities, friends, things that I feel very happy to just have, like my house, food, a good job. I very much like my job now compared to the one I had before. The kids I work with, my hobbies, and kind of getting into discovering myself more. I've really enjoyed doing that. So yeah, I have a lot of things that bring me joy. Erin, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is number 1 on your bucket list? This is a 2-part question. Number 1 on your bucket list.
I have a lot of things on my bucket list.
Well, what's number 1? Or, okay, give me your top 3.
Top 3.
Yeah,
That would be
give me-
easier.
Okay, yeah, give me your top 3. And keep in mind, this is a 2-part question.
Okay. I have the 40 things on my bucket list. Which 3 am I going to pick? Well, actually, on my bucket list, doing a podcast is one of them.
Cool.
So there we go.
But that's your top 3?
No, I'm trying to remember my bucket list.
Oh, well, yeah, just give me your top 3.
Yeah, I know, but you get to be long-winded, so here I am. Um,
I don't have a bucket list.
Travel to and take my boys to Europe. And I feel like such a little kid when I say this, but I want to go to Disney World.
That's on your bucket list?
Yes, it is.
That's in your top 3?
Yeah.
Like, okay. No, I'm serious. Like, top 3 things that if you could not do anything else on your bucket list before you die.
Are you telling her bucket list?
I'm telling you, I want to go to Disney World.
Okay. I thought that you wanted to, like, go to school.
Well, I'm going to go to school. That's not going to be on my bucket list, though.
Okay.
Like, I'm going.
Okay. No,
I guess I should say I'm going to Disney World, but
in Jesus' name.
it seems more applicable. I don't know. It seems.
Okay, so Europe, Disney World, and what else?
I want to own a 1977 Bronco.
Okay. Well,
that's cool.
My second part question to this might kind of fall through. Why aren't you doing those things? Why aren't you making those things happen?
Money.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be it.
Or why aren't you like doing things to make those things happen?
Well,
exposing you a little bit.
Let me tell you a story all about how my life got twisted and turned upside down. So I got pregnant at 20, and Travis was in college, and we're both poor. We're both poor for a while. There's a lot of student debt, and I just kept having babies. And, you know, I was going to school. I was going back to school, or I was going to school, and Travis and I really felt like it was important for me to raise our children and for them not to be in childcare. So we took a different path. It was a hard path. It was a rocky path from the start, you know, getting pregnant, not having an education, having student debt, having a spouse that has student debt, you not having a job, and then, you know, we spent about close to $20,000 because of the breast implants and everything. And the sicknesses that came from all that and the doctor's bills. So I would say it's because of all that, really and truly. And then now that our kids are getting to an older phase where there's orthodontic work and you discover, oh, this is as much as my car that I'm going to have to be shelling out for this. Yeah. And then COVID, I guess there's that too. And with Disney World, you know, we decided to pay off all of our debt besides the student loans. So when we moved from Houston to Georgetown, so we had to pay off all that debt. So yeah.
Well, I feel like you didn't really have to explain all of that. I thought your answers were going to be different, so then that question would have worked.
But I will say there are other things on my bucket list that I'm trying to do, and there are things like on my bucket list. There was take a sister's trip, and
I was just thinking about that. We need to do it again.
Yeah, and on my bucket list, I also have I want to visit all the states, all the states in the United States, and I visited, I believe, 27 of them.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm really looking to our next sister's trip where we can like go into like one of the East Coast states and then like get like 5 of them out so I can add 5 more, you know. So there are things, and then like I want to do the splits, and yeah, I can't do the splits, and I want to do a handstand. So yeah, I envy your daughter for being able to do a handstand.
I thought you did it already.
No, I've done a headstand. I
Oh,
can do a
that's- okay.
headstand,
See,
but I
feel
can't
like
do
a
a hand.
headstand's harder than a handstand.
No, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
So there we go.
Rachel, I had the same question for you. What would you say either number 1 on your bucket list or top 3 on your bucket list?
Yeah, that's difficult when you don't have one.
You don't have a bucket list?
I do not.
Really?
I do not.
Huh. I have a
Um,
sheet of paper and it's like 43 things. And I like, when I do something, I cross it off.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of, so I have my favorite things. And it normally, everything that I'm very intentional about what I do. And normally something qualifies into that category. I really enjoy traveling. I absolutely love traveling. And I enjoy being out in nature. So our girls' trip hit so many of those marks just by doing that. We need to do it again soon. But I love traveling. I guess maybe my bucket list might be destinations. I'm supposed to go to Bologna, Italy.
A 1977 Bronco. Isn't it gorgeous?
That is pretty. Sorry. So yeah, traveling destinations are pretty big. I would like to go to every state as well.
When are you going to Italy?
No, I said we plan to go to Bologna, Italy. We have to for Terry's job. But anyway, yeah. And then I have other things that like I have goals inside my head that I want to do. Like I want to branch out into painting on bigger canvases, and branch out to that and creating more of a habit, maybe possibly selling some of my stuff online. I don't know.
Yes.
So then the second part to that question is, what are you doing to do those things, or why aren't you doing those things?
I am adamantly working towards my goals. My husband and I have a plan. We're hustling. We're trying to save money and we're working towards it. It's hard to see. I'm very perfectionistic, so it's hard to see progress. But he sees it a lot more easily than I do, and we are making progress and we are working towards it. But yeah.
All right, Ashley, this is like continuing on to my first question. Okay. So I've kind of always wondered this. What made you tell me about your molestation when I revealed to you that I had a memory of being molested by my friend's older brother? Like, what just made you in that moment? All the times where you were keeping everything a secret and then you tell me then.
I don't really know. I mean, I know whenever you told me, I don't really know, because I wasn't even totally convinced. I think that it was just because we were on the topic, and because remember, immediately after I told you, I was like, well, I'm not even sure that it's, I don't think it's anything though. And then you just like looked at me and you're like, what? And then I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, because it just seemed like it was very, I don't know. It was almost like you didn't take it seriously. But I've just kind of always wondered, like, why did you choose that moment to, like, say something?
It was probably because of what you had shared.
Yeah.
But it was weird because even though you had shared that, I wasn't even totally convinced of of the memory. So it's kind of backwards, I know, but yeah.
Erin, I would like to know as well, what things bring you joy in life?
My boys. Yeah, my boys really bring me joy. Just seeing how they act as kids. And
they're funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're so funny.
And like seeing, I was really hard. Travis and I were really hard on Sawyer, and I really regret how hard we were on him. He was our guinea pig, and we were young and everything, and so I regret being so hard on him. So I've really tried to allow him to express his emotions, even if they're annoying, now. But he did something that, like, he was like, I guess he's a middle schooler, but I guess you could say he threw a fit. Okay. And I just like kind of looked at him, and he like just looked at me, and I was like, you want to do anything else? Like, if you want to throw something else, that's fine, or whatever. And he just looked at me, and I was like, just carry on. Like, and it was just funny, because I know that if I were in his shoes, had I done anything remotely like close to what he just did, I would have had my ass handed to me.
Yeah.
And so just seeing him be able to figure out life and express those emotions without a parent figure beating the hell out of you, or berating you for whatever because you can't regulate your emotions. I don't know. I get to look at instances like that, and it's like I get to speak to my soul and just say, see, something's working out, here's how it should be, maybe. Yeah, I think right now that's the thing that's bringing me the most joy. Yeah. Just seeing kids live.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Your kids are awesome.
Thank you. Did I ask you a question? Yeah. Okay, so who needs to ask a question? I asked both of y'all questions.
Did you ask me my second question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think we...
Okay, so now it's to the third round of questions.
Ashley is shaking her head violently.
Ashley, what is something that you wish you had done different in your healing journey?
Sorry.
You're never sitting in that chair again.
I know. Sorry. There's a part of me that really wishes I would have started my healing journey earlier, like sooner. But I didn't, and I can't take that back. With my healing journey, I guess whenever I finally started working through everything, I was almost too determined to kind of be done with everything. And I think at the cost of me rushing through my EMDR therapy and digging up all the crap that I dug up as fast as I did, because I started meeting with the therapist once a week to do EMDR therapy for a minimum of an hour. I did this during my work with CPS, being an investigator, and I would just take an hour out of every Wednesday to be able to meet with her, and I think that it burned me out. So then by the time 2021 rolls around, I was so depleted from the year before that, and it wasn't even just that, the whole COVID thing came up, that struck a chord. So my point is that I became I got burnout very, very quickly. So I wish I would have handled that maybe a little bit differently, because by the time I realized that I was burnt out, it took me, I'm still recovering from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I wish I would have done differently.
I have the same question for you.
Probably the same as Ashley.
Okay.
Started earlier, even though I started the earliest out of everybody. I knew I had work to do right after I had given birth to Trent, and was just like, I've got this adorable little baby that I have to do right by him, and he deserves everything that's good in this world, and I have to give it to him, and I need to be right mentally. And that's kind of where I started. I remember being on maternity leave with my son and going to the library and renting The Power of Positive Thinking. And that kind of started this process where I just started reading and reading and reading different things to help myself. But part of me, sometimes I wonder, like, what would have happened if I had started therapy when I was in Arizona with Trent and Terry? Just like where we'd be now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just early, which I say that not to say that I regret my journey, but just to maybe encourage people. It's never too late to start healing and to start therapy and to start working towards, moving towards a better you and a better life.
Yeah.
Erin, I have the same question for you.
Oh, whatever. I wish I would have accepted everything like earlier. Like accepted each phase that I was in, accepted what happened to me, accepted, and accepted some more. Like I was just and not being like, and not like avoid things. So I wish I would have accepted everything and not avoided. Double A's.
With healing, I think it would be nice for people, and I'm sure all of y'all feel this way, to not be caught in survival mode all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to get out of that, I think, is the beginning of healing. Trying to get out of that. So I think identifying when you're in survival mode early on may be super beneficial.
Because that's the thing. When we get together as sisters, we're not sitting there talking about our effed up childhood. We've been able to move on, and we've been able to, you know what I mean?
A while, though, it was like that.
For a while.
It was depressing.
But that was a season.
Yeah.
And we've definitely, each of us has said in a way, we would do this earlier, indicating that our lives are better now, much better now than they were before, which is a good indication to people that it does get better. You can move past this.
Well, and that's a good segue into what I feel like we almost have to say in every single episode, or most episodes, is that I know that maybe to some listeners we may come across as, bitter, or we may come across as just angry at our, the way that we were raised, and that's true to a degree. I mean, I'm not happy with the way that I was raised, but at the same time, we all are really trying to be on the path to healing.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is talking about it.
Yeah.
Figuring out how we need to address our own trauma, and what we need to do for ourselves, so that way we're not living in survival mode and we're addressing the things that need to come out of the closet, so that way it can be unpacked, put away, and you can go on and live your life.
Yep.
I mean, this episode was just asking random questions and everything, but this is what I want to say before we end. Vulnerability really exposes everything, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And we do this podcast because we want people to be able to expose ourselves, be vulnerable. I mean, I don't necessarily enjoy having people know that I was molested by our birth mother. I don't really enjoy people knowing that about me. but I want to be able to be vulnerable enough so that other people can have the courage to say things that they're ashamed of. And that's why we do this podcast. And I guess that's why we're asking each other random questions, because maybe you can start asking other people random questions, or yourself these random questions that.
Yeah.
Well, and it take us back a few months ago. Sorry, it wasn't a few months ago. Sometime last year when we had recorded, it was either episode 2 or 3.
Oof.
About the episode with confronting Cindy. Do all of y'all remember how
Yeah.
horrible we all felt? And we stopped recording after that.
For like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, well, and I went home that night and I just cried in the shower. I just bawled in the shower. I'm not proud of it. I like drank a little.
Yeah.
And I was definitely tipsy, and I just cried in the shower.
Yeah, I was very...
I was very
It
triggered.
took a lot out of us.
I think I was very panicky, if I'm not mistaken, after that
I didn't sleep
episode.
well that night.
But the first couple of episodes, my point is that, you know, even just since that time, I think all of us have really grown in our, like, maturity with the trauma itself. Like,
We've done more work, too.
Yeah, we've done more work with it. And, you know, my encouragement, or the things that make me happy and make me want to keep talking about the intimate parts of our life and stuff like that, is because we see that it's helping other people talk about their own trauma, their own shame, their own experiences, because that's what will help stop it, so you can heal and have a better life.
It's making other people mad that we grew up with, some people,
Yeah.
you know, but that's not our job to, we're telling our story.
That just
And
shocks me.
And they can tell their story. They're more than welcome to tell their story. They're choosing not to tell their story.
But
But
you're not going to tell us what our story is.
yeah. And no one can tell you what your story is.
Yeah.
And so
Or the reality that you live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why anytime I close, I always say continue doing the hard work of healing, because it really is hard work. It's rewarding, but it is hard. And it exposes things that you don't necessarily want to come to the surface, but the more that it comes out, the better that your healing journey will be.
Yeah.
We love y'all. Thank you so much for listening. You know, just continue doing the hard work of healing.
And keep fighting.
Yes.